Namaste and welcome to the channel where we explore stories and wisdom from ancient Indian texts and literatures. Today we delve into the story of Balaki and Ajatashatru from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. These characters engage in deep discussions about the nature of reality, the relationship between the individual soul and Brahman, as well as profound inquiries into the self and consciousness. It is the principle of intelligence that is the source of all things. This fact has been emphasized in this short story of Balaki and Ajatashatru. A young man called Balaki, belonging to the family of Gargya, was full of vanity. He thought he knew everything. He had studied only one branch of the Vedas and had not delved into the subject deeply. He was desirous of getting some money. He went to display his knowledge before an emperor called Ajatashatru, the king of Kashi. Balaki offered to teach the king the knowledge of Brahman. For this offer the king gave him 1,000 cows and said, "This is but a poor gift. I am not rich enough to give you as generously as King Janaka does." Balaki was still more puffed up when he was in sight of such a rich gift. He said, "I shall tell you about Brahman, the highest reality." King Ajatashatru and Balaki sat together and then started the whole conversation. But when Balaki opened up his lips, Ajatashatru could see how shallow he was. Balaki said, "I meditate upon the person in the sun as Brahman. You also do that meditation." It was nothing new for the king Ajatashatru. So he humbly replied, "I do meditate upon the sun, but not as you do. The reason is that the sun is only a conditioned form, and you are considering this conditioned form as the absolute. This is not the way in which it should be contemplated. There is a reality behind the sun, which is the preeminent, the head of all beings, the resplendent. I meditate upon that. This reality could have taken many forms other than the sun, and so resorting to that reality behind the form naturally leads to the realization of every other form. That is what I meditate upon, the king of all beings. One who contemplates thus, in this manner, the reality behind the sun becomes supreme among all people. He becomes a king in the circle he moves, and this is the result of such meditation." Balaki felt browbeaten, but again said, "The person in the moon is the Brahman, and as the object of my meditation." Hearing this, the king replied, "I do meditate upon the moon, but not the way you do. I meditate upon him as the vast, the white-robed, radiant Soma who covered the whole creation in his immense spread of life-giving delight. And this excels in its radiance, in the measure of the wide purity of its forms. One who meditates upon him thus, as the abundant yield of the essence of all life experience, Soma is constant. His sustenance does not decay." Balaki further pointed to the person in the flash of lightning as Brahman, and as the object of his meditation. That too was not new to King Ajatashatru. He said to Balaki, "I do not meditate upon lightning in the way you have told me. I merely meditate on luminosity. Lightning is one of the forms of potential luminosity. There can be various other forms of luster or brilliance. It can be the luster of lightning, it may be that of the sun, it may be of the moon, it may be of fire, it may be of one's own understanding. But I contemplate on the brilliance or the luster itself. And I know that one who thus meditates becomes brilliant. His progeny too becomes brilliant." In this manner, Balaki and Ajatashatru went on. Balaki pointed out that he meditates upon the person in the sky, in the wind, in fire, in water, in the mirror, in the sound that follows after one as he goes, in the quarters of space, in the shadow, and in the body as Brahman. Each time the prince put Balaki right by correcting his statement. Finally, Balaki in desperation said, "The person that is in ourselves is the Brahman. One should worship him as such." The prince rejected this teaching also and said, "One who looks upon the person in himself as Brahman becomes self-regarding and nothing more. Therefore, that is not Brahman at all. At this, Balaki collapsed and said in humility, "I know things only so far. Now please teach me yourself the right knowledge. I am anxious to know the truth from you." The prince was a Kshatriya and Balaki a Brahman by birth. The prince therefore said, "It is rather unusual that a Brahman should approach a Kshatriya for spiritual knowledge. It is a reverse process. But that does not matter. I shall tell you what I know of it." He then took Balaki to a man who was in deep sleep. He called upon the sleeping man by his name, "O Somraj, get up please." But there was no response. Then he patted the sleeping Somraj by the hand and he awoke. The prince then asked Balaki, "Do you know where this sleeping man had gone during sleep? Who was it that had slept and who was active?" Balaki was innocent of all this knowledge. He had no reply to give. The prince then told him it was the intelligence in Somraj that was sleeping or absent for the time being. His body was living and active, and the vital powers were acting all the while. The intelligence had withdrawn all his powers of consciousness from the various parts of the body and was taking rest in the empty space or vacuum, akasha, in the heart. At such a time, all the powers are, as it were, withdrawn from active service and stand suspended. When that intelligence roams about in the dreamland, all these powers of hearing, seeing, etc. are with that intelligence. During dreams, the intelligence assumes different roles. It may be of a king, or a Brahman, or a hunter. But all these powers follow him just as the servants of a king follow him when he is out on tour. When the man is in deep sleep, his intelligence is not cognizant of any outside thing nor of any dream. It withdraws at that time all its powers from the 72,000 nerve centers in the body and takes rest in a vacuum in the heart. He sleeps then like a great king or a noted Brahman or like a young boy free of all care and worry. He is then full of pure joy. When the man awakes, his intelligence returns and begins its activities as before. This principle of intelligence is really the Brahman. Verily, like the gossamer web that spins out of a spider's body, or like the sparks that spring and fly from fire, the innumerable things in the world, the vital powers, worlds, gods, all beings come out of this first principle, which is Brahman or Atman. Humbled Balaki listened with rapt attention to this discourse on Brahman by Ajatashatru and shed all his vanity and conceit. Sri Aurobindo comments, Ajatashatru does not deny the experiences and perceptions of Balaki. He accepts them, denies only their claim to represent the ultimate truth, gives them their true character, puts them in their right place, and leads up by this purification process to his own deeper knowledge. Thank you for journeying through this fascinating story with us. The tale of Balaki and Ajatashatru. If you enjoyed exploring this ancient wisdom, don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts or interpretations about the story, and subscribe to our channel for more insights from the timeless texts of India. Share this video with friends and family who would enjoy diving into these profound discussions. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the infinite depths of knowledge. Namaste.